Ecuador Constitutional Court on Wednesday admitted the impeachment proceedings against President Guillermo Lasso. China and Brazil reached a deal to trade in their own currencies, abandoning the US dollar as an intermediary. And in Senegal, security forces repress a student protest in the country's capital. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. Ecuador's Constitutional Court on Wednesday admitted the impeachment proceedings against the President Guillermo Lasso. The request for admissibility of the proceeding against Lasso was approved during a plenary session with 6 votes in favor and 3 abstentions. The resolution is based on the second draft opinion prepared by Judges Ali Lozada and Richard Ortiz. On the other hand, the Legislative Board now has 3 days to study the report and then send it to the Oversight Commission, which has approximately 1 month to gather evidence so that the President can exercise his right to defense. Subsequently, the trial will go to the plenary of the Assembly, and there, 92 votes will be needed to censure and remove Lasso from office. The impeachment request against Ecuadorian President Lasso is based on the investigation report of the case known as El Gran Padrino, or the Great Godfather, in which he is accused of having responsibility in an alleged corruption scheme in public companies, arguably headed by Danilo Carrera, Lasso's brother-in-law, and Rubén Cherres, a close acquaintance of the Ecuadorian head of state. In this regard, the Constitutional Court has admitted the impeachment accusations for the alleged crime of embezzlement against the president, as it considers it falls within the admissibility requirements established by the law. However, it is dismissed 2 other charges related to the crime of extortion because, according to the court, they do not meet the requirements. Through a statement issued, the tribunal stated that it was necessary to conduct an analysis of the procedure and content of the request. Mexican prosecutors' office have identified 8 people who may be responsible for 39 migrants dead in a fire at a detention center in the northern border city of Ciudad Juárez. The information was provided in a press conference held on Wednesday by the Secretariat of Security and Citizen Protection, Rosa Isela Rodriguez. The government official said that 2 of the suspects are federal agents, 1 belongs to the state delegation of the National Migration Institute, and 5 more are security agents. Rodriguez confirmed that so far 39 people are dead and at least 27 more are injured, 25 of whom are in a delicate or serious condition. On the other hand, the head of the prosecutor's office specialized on human rights, Sara Irene Herrerías Guerra, said that 4 arrest warrants are already being requested against those allegedly involved in the incident.
An investigation has been opened for the crime of homicide and damage to property. As we develop the investigations, we are going to look at all the potential offenses, including probably abuse of authority or even ill-treatment. We will always act transparently, we will not hide any facts, and we will not protect any person. The investigation will be transparent in order to give justice to the people.
And Cuba commemorated the 33rd anniversary of the arrival of the first 139 children affected by the explosion at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. On March 29, 1990, in a great gesture of solidarity, the leader of the Cuban Revolution, Fidel Castro, welcomed the first children victims of that accident in order to begin a medical assistance program that continued from that year until 2016. In total, more than 26,000 people benefited from the program. The patients stayed in Tarará Beach, east of the capital. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros inaugurated the second National Fair of Cría Búfalos Caracas 2023 or 2023 to promote buffalo meat production in the country. At present, the buffalo has emerged as main livestock alternative production. Likewise, through an act, the head of state emphasized that during the years of resisting the economic war, the government has built new bases to diversify the country and a new economy that prioritizes the satisfaction of the population's needs. Meanwhile, the president highlighted the fight against the perpetrators of recent corruption manifestations in the state-owned oil company PDVSA. Maduro is confident they have dealt a convincing blow to the mafias that profit from the government's resources.
We are certain that we are striking a blow against the rotten mobs of corruption. And this blow we have struck is just the first one. In this first stage, this is just one of the many more strikes we are going to blow against these gangs. No matter the dark corners they choose to hide, no matter the way they look, no matter their political colors, we will not stop fighting those treacherous scum, those corrupted bandits.
China and Brazil have reached a deal to trade in their own currencies, ditching the US dollars as an intermediary. The deal would enable China, the top rival to the U.S. economic hegemony, and Brazil, the biggest economy in Latin America, to conduct their massive trade and financial transactions directly, exchanging yuan for reals and vice versa instead of going through the dollar. Brazilian Trade and Investment Promotion Agency stated that the expectation is that this will reduce the costs and promote greater bilateral trade and also to ease investment. China is Brazil's biggest trading partner with a record of $150.5 billion in bilateral trade last year. The deal, that follows a preliminary agreement in January, was announced after a high-level China-Brazil business forum in Beijing. Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. The head of the UN Atomic Energy Watchdog returned on Wednesday to the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Rafael Mariano Grossi, the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, visited the nuclear power plant facilities and was recorded at this tour on the Russian state TV, where he expressed his gratitude for having facilitated the presence of UN working members at the site. The UN Watchdog Agency has had a permanent rotating team at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant since September. Grossi declared on Tuesday that he sees it as his duty to intensify the talks between Kiev and Moscow to safeguard the facility and avoid a catastrophic accident, as he anticipated that an agreement was close. However, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky then stated he was less optimistic that a deal was near.
I think it's important that we can continue our dialogue. I want to thank you for having facilitated the presence of our teams here since September.
A Chinese-Russian conference on agricultural cooperation was held in Moscow, where experts and entrepreneurs highlighted important tasks of bilateral trade relations and discussed increasing investments as well as imports and exports between the countries. Artur Muravyev from TV Breaks brings us more on this topic.
A Russian-Chinese conference on cooperation in agriculture was held in Moscow. Experts, entrepreneurs, and officials discussed new opportunities for economic cooperation.
This is not just some theoretical things, but exactly practical implementation, where entrepreneurs themselves can communicate directly with the region of China, The Chinese market is now a huge growth potential for Russian manufacturers. Not only that, but the Chinese are now open to investing in Russian agricultural production.
Increasing imports and exports of goods and increasing investments are important objectives for Russian-Chinese trade relations. New business ties can give Russia the resources it needs to develop and modernize its agriculture industry.
I am sure we have great prospects, because we, both countries, are agrarian countries from the very beginning, and we have a lot to share. There are technologies that are very well developed in our country and those developed in China.
Supplies of car parts, organization of joint ventures for production of the lift. This is the final preparation for the autumn harvest, spare parts for tractors, and, of course, the pharmaceutical and biotechnology industry.
The signing of cooperation agreement was solemnly celebrated on the conference platform. The creation of new business links between agro-industries will enable the participants to cover resources needs and realize their accumulated potential.
Our trade and economic relations in the agricultural sector have great prospects. I am from Hainan province, a large region which produces a lot of wheat for export. This is a common link between our countries. Russia is one of the biggest exporters of wheat in the world. Now an agricultural infrastructure is being built in the Far East, which will allow to increase production capacity.
China has great respect for Russian products because the Chinese have become experienced buyers. They want to buy better quality and more environmentally friendly products, like Russia.
In addition to trade, the conference participants also discussed related sectors. These sectors will help entrepreneurs tap into new markets.
Tourism is the basis for the development of many sectors, for the development of infrastructure, and consequently, it is the basis of the service sector.
Experts estimate that the trade turnover between Russia and China is approaching the target of $200 billion set by the governments of both countries. Experts expect to cross that threshold as soon as possible.
And trade unions in the Czech Republic joined forces with opposition parties to protest against the government's pension reform. Thousands of demonstrators gathered in front of the government headquarters in Prague to express their rejection of the idea to raise the retirement age to 68. The Minister of Labor and Social Affairs, Marian Jureka, said that the issue is being evaluated and assures that it is on the negotiations table. Jureka said that the government is expected to finalize its plans for the reform in order to make the system sustainable. In Germany, the total public debt reached 2.37 quintillion of euros at the end of 2022, a new record high. The national public debt has reached the equivalent of 28,155 per person. Federal debt was up 4.6% or 71.9 billion to a total of 1.62 quintillion. The rate of increase was also reduced in 2022 compared to 2021 and 2020 amid the most pronounced COVID-related disruptions. In addition, total public debt consists of borrowing of various levels: federal, state, and municipality. Chief economist at the ING Bank, Karsten Bresky, expressed that the debt burden means higher interest payments, which take up an increasing share of the annual budget. This means that money is then missing for meaningful spending or investments. On Wednesday, Pope Francis was admitted to a hospital in Rome for medical checkups. The 86-year-old Pope held its general audience in St. Peter's Square with the catechesis focused on the figure of St. Paul. At the end of the audience, he needed help getting into the Pope mobile. Initial reports referred to respiratory fatigue with chest pain. According to a medical report, the pontiff has evidence of respiratory infection that will require a few days of appropriate medical treatment. The report concluded with the Pope's thanks for the prayers and messages he received. TeleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat. Dial 461 and enjoy our leading alternative American broadcast. One final short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. A group of students in Senegal denounced police repression against a protest in the country's capital. According to local media, hundreds of students gathered at the University of Dakar to participate in a demonstration banned by the government authorities on the eve of the trial of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko, when security forces attacked the students with tear gas bombs and stun grenades. During the confrontation, a journalist who was covering the event was also a victim of police aggression and later arrested and taken by force to the local police station. Social movements pointed out that the protests show the growing discontent of the population due to the economic decline of the nation. Angola's National Assembly approved on Wednesday the extension for another 3 months of the country's military mission in Mozambique. The decision was adopted by 187 votes in favor, none against, and no abstentions during the 6th extraordinary plenary session of the first legislative session of the 5th legislature. The deputies were unanimous in the relevance of the Angolan component of the force in a state of alert in Mozambique, SADZ. The country's contribution to the standby force included 20 military officers, material resources, and aircraft and financial support equivalent to €1 million. The SADZ mission in Mozambique was deployed on 15th July 2021 as a regional response to support Mozambique to combat terrorism and acts of violence. On Wednesday, Angola's President Joe Lorenzo opened an industrial fair in the Luanda-Bengo Special Economic Zone and called for more investments to diversify the country's productive structure. The head of state praised the sector's resilience during COVID, considering that from 2018 to 2022, the national industry also added over 200 new ventures, created more than 10,000 jobs, and had an increasing contribution to the gross domestic product. President Lorenzo also said that the government will continue to promote domestic production to reduce prices and imports, increase exportable goods in a competitive manner, and reduce dependence on the oil revenues. The 5th edition of Expo Industry is held until next Saturday with the participation of over 230 companies. The European Union defended its Libyan migrants' work after UN-backed investigators accused the 27-nation bloc of aiding crimes against humanity in the North African country. European Commission spokesperson Peter Stano said at a news conference in Brussels that they were actively trying to solve the very difficult situation on the ground, as well as looking into the concerns that were raised. The investigator of a UN-commissioned fact-finding mission to Libya, Shalok Gabiyani, reported on Monday that asylum seekers, some of whom might have been eligible for asylum, were apprehended, detained, and disembarked in Libya solely to prevent their entry into Europe, and accused the European Union assistance to Libya's Migration Department and the Coast Guard of aiding to commit those crimes. Libya is a major departure point for people from Northern Africa and elsewhere to cross the Mediterranean Sea in search of better lives or sanctuary in Europe. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.